So you want to study in Korea. Good for you. University in South Korea is extremely competitive, but it's actually not that hard to get in. Yeah, I had pretty good grades in high school, but that's about it. I didn't take any advanced classes, unless you count advanced ceramics. So the fact that I got accepted into a Korean college is kind of crazy. As you just saw, my school day is pretty chill. I only have 3 classes I need to go to, but I also have 3 online classes, so this semester is pretty easy. I've seen some schedules where students can have like 5 to 6 classes in a single day. I cannot do that. Thank God for online classes. So I broke this Q&A down into 2 main parts: the application process and then school life. Let's move on to the first section in the Q&A, application process. The process is mainly done online, but then you have to send in a bunch of documents to the school. My school provides an admissions guide online. The first thing, the most important thing, is to be mindful of the deadline. I cannot stress this enough. There may be 1, there may be 2, depending on your school. Every school is different, but I suggest getting everything done as soon as possible. Send it to the school at least a week before the due date, because you never know what can happen. If your application arrives late, you're denied. 100%. Trust me. My first application, which costed $200, was denied because it arrived 1 day late. I have no idea why I decided to send it again after that, because it costed another $200, but I did. However, if you know it's going to be late, or if there's even the slightest possibility, just email them or call them. Another thing to keep in mind is that once you apply, you're not going to get notified for at least a few months later. I applied, when did I apply? March. I applied in March, and I didn't get notified until June, I think. So just keep that in mind. Okay, question number 2. This application took me the longest out of all of the schools I applied for all around the world. First, there's an online application that you have to go through. Then you have to compile a bunch of documents about yourself and then send them into the school. And your application can vary depending on which major you decide to go into, which you have to decide on when you apply, which is very different from American schools where you can pick like 2 years later. For Korean schools, you have to choose your major before you actually get accepted to the school. Different majors also have different requirements. Given my major, which is international studies, it is an English major. It requires students that are actually not from native English-speaking countries to show their TOEFL score or like an English test score. And then if your major is not in English, then you actually have to show a topic score, which is your Korean level. And I think the least score you can have is 3. I don't know, I've never taken it. Also, some schools only select a certain number of students from each country. And lastly, your parents actually must both be foreigners. They cannot have Korean nationality. As for the list of the documents that you need, it goes on forever. I wrote them down because it was such a long list. The application form, the application supplement, a letter of consent, an official transcript from your previous school, something to prove your language proficiency, a verification of parents' nationality, a family relationship certificate, and a bank statement of 20,000 USD or more. And the next question, are there any scholarships that you can get? And yes, there is. It can be outlined within the application itself or also done through government websites that I've seen. But this is another important thing. If it is on the application, make sure to check the box. I don't know why I didn't do this, but when I applied to my school, there was 2 options for scholarships. I do not remember what they were, but I thought I couldn't apply to them because one said exchange student. I'm not an exchange student, so I was like, I can't sign up for this scholarship even though I'm broke. Only when I got to school did I find out that I actually could have gotten a lot of money from the school if I just checked that stupid box. Price for school changes depending on which major you're in, actually, but it can usually range between like 3,000 to 6,000 USD. And that leads to the tuition payment. The school will provide a bank number that you can wire transfer your money into, and there is also a deadline, so be careful. If you miss that deadline, your application can be revoked. Moving on to part 2, school life. If you get accepted, good job. You're probably wondering, where do I go next? The first step, which I highly recommend, is to look into dormitories. Most schools actually provide dormitories, and they prioritize freshmen over higher grades, so you're most likely to get in if you apply. Dormitories can be a great place to start off because you can meet new people, make friends, and you can live close by school. However, there are a few downsides. First one, curfew. I hate curfew. If you're not back by midnight, you get locked out. If you try to get back in after midnight, you lose points. There's a point system for the dormitory. If you lose a certain amount of points, you're actually completely kicked out of the dorm. Number 2, no friends. No one else besides you and your roommates is allowed inside your room, especially boys, if you go to an all-girls school like me. And that also means no parties. Not that I had friends to do that anyway. And last one, privacy. At my school, they made this new huge apartment complex. Each apartment floor can hold up to like 8 girls at one time, so it's possible you can end up with 7 roommates that only speak Chinese, constantly talk behind your back, and never clean up after themselves. Yeah, I'm speaking from experience. But other than that, the dorms are pretty great. But if you don't want to live in the dorms and you just want to go outside and party every day, there's other cheap options like goshiwons or guest houses. If you have enough money, you can use it as a deposit and get like a 1-room apartment like me. I can't wait to move. So what are my classes like? My classes are mostly in English, mostly. Each class can be 2 to 3 credits, and you can take up to 18 credits per semester, or 21 if you're smart. The teachers are usually Korean, but they speak fluent English. Classes are usually lecture-based, with a midterm, final, sometimes presentation or final paper. Also, my major forces me to take 3 classes only in Korean, which makes no sense because my major is an English major. I have no idea. So far, this Korean class seems to be like the same format. I just don't understand what's going on. Last but not least, chapel. Chapel is the most boring and useless 30 minutes of my life every week. Not every school has it. Some have different variations of it, but my school requires every full-time student to attend chapel every semester, which is absolutely ridiculous. They make everyone, regardless of religion, go to Christian church once a week. And early in the morning too. Like, I cannot wake up at 9 in the morning. It's hot in here. Alright, I guess that's it. I can't think of anything else to say, and frankly I'm so tired of talking. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!